Okay, we're gonna pick up where we left off with Excel. So I'm gonna bring back the table here. So what we had left off is we had made the table for the figure. So let's talk about types of figures that we have. The first kind is the kind you're going to use most often for this class, and that is a column chart or a bar graph. And this is the graph that you use when your independent variables are distinct categories: drug treated, control treated, or for the reaction time lab when you have the different activities, after meditation, after physical activity, after mental activity. Those would be distinct categories that would call for our bar graph. It's going to show the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable. If you have an independent variable that is a number, that is numerical, then you need an XY scatter plot. And that's because what this is saying is that the line shows that all of the values exist in between the points. So for numbers, that makes sense. There are numbers in between. So if you have concentration, for example, on your x-axis, or time, or distance, that's going to be something where you want to use a scatter plot. Now, a great figure graphs means and standard deviations, where the height of the column for a column graph is the mean, and then the standard deviation is shown with an error bar. A great figure has a caption that's descriptive and allows the reader to understand the purpose of a figure without having to read the full report. It has axes that are labeled and titled accurately. For example, we want to have the word mean, that's what we're graphing, the mean length, and then the units are in parentheses. And then a legend, which tells you what the different colors or symbols or patterns represent. Okay. So Excel usually drops a figure in the worst and most inconvenient spot. So we're going to move it by simply grabbing it and dragging it. So we're going to grab and drag. So that's what I want you to do, is drag your figure over to that blue area. Now let's make a figure. So you want to highlight the column that indicates the treatment names and the means only. Don't highlight our standard deviation. Remember, we're using the control button or in PCs, or the command button in Macs, to highlight disjunction or non-adjacent fields. So highlight the pink fields that include the treatment name, and the first blue column that includes the mean for our first variable. And then we're going to hold that command or that control button and highlight the second one. You'll notice that for here we got rid of the words mean and standard deviation, because otherwise that will be the title that it would give. The Excel would get confused. So you have to know that these are the mean and the standard deviation. So if we go back a second, if we go back to the table we made, remember we put mean and standard deviation? The last step before you graph your table is to delete this row. You want to delete the row that says mean and standard deviation, and you just want to know those are mean and standard deviation. Okay, so we're going to highlight the pink and the blue and hit control or command, and then we're going to highlight the second one. Then we're going to do a different thing depending on what you have. So for us with Macs, we're going to hit chart. For those of you who don't have a Mac, you want to do insert chart, and we're going to do a column, a clustered column. Bam. And then we're going to drag it to this convenient location over here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to switch the row and the axis. So under our format, or no, under chart layout, we should be able to rotate our X and our switch the X and the Y, the row and the column. So we can do that actually by clicking and hitting control and selecting data. And we're going to hit this button that says switch row and column. We're going to hit OK. And now we have control and drug treated on our X, and we've graphed total length and first interload. Okay. So now you want to start doing the things to make it pretty. So you're going to click on chart layout, you're going to add a chart title, axes titles, legends, all sorts of prettying things. We're going to jump ahead to standard deviations after you've made it pretty. okay? So we want to add the standard deviation as error bars. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the total length bar, and then we're going to go to chart layout, and we're going to click on error bars, and we're going to click on error bar options or custom error bars, and we're going to click on custom, and we're going to click on specify value, and here's where we're going to click on both. We're going to highlight both of those standard deviations for the positive, and then we're going to go to negative, and we're going to get rid of that where it says 1, and we're going to do it again. Highlight both of those standard deviations and click OK, and bam. Okay, we now ended up with our error bars. And you can see the control one is smaller than the oxen treated, which makes sense. 0.72 is smaller than 0.94. We're going to do it again. So click on the bar you want to add the thing to. Click on chart layout. Click on error bars, error bar options, custom, specify our value. Highlight and select both of those. Then click on the negative one and do the same thing. Highlight both of those and click OK and hit OK. We've added error bars. The last thing you want to do is make things pretty. So this goes through a full thing of making things look pretty. You'll end up with your turn. So then the last part, you're going to do it again. So I want you to take this table and make a figure from this table, add standard deviation bars, all of that. Make it pretty, add titles. When you have finished, you're going to move the chart over and you're going to select answers as object in. And so you'll move it over here and drop the figure into this bar. Please follow the instructions for all of that and submit your 2 screenshots from tutorial 1 and tutorial 3. Tutorial 1, we went over. Tutorial 3 is going to require this video. Again, please follow through the tutorial for making the figure. And email me if you have any questions.